Hi, everyone, and welcome to another CCS Alumni Live. I am Brandy Keeler, Assistant Director of Admissions here at the College for Creative Studies, which is an art and design college located here in Detroit, Michigan. And CCS Alumni Live is our weekly conversation where we talk with graduates from the College for Creative Studies about their journey from high school to career. This is also a great chance for anybody who's tuning in live to have their questions answered about creative industries they are learning about or about being a CCS student. So I'm going to introduce today's guest and we will go ahead and get started. Today we are talking with Julie Rudzinski, who graduated from CCS in 2015 with her degree in interior design, also with a concentration in business. She now works at GM as a color and trim designer, focusing on advanced design and sustainable material development for future vehicles. She uses her same eye for design, color, and texture in her own business, Fate and Coincidence. Fate and Coincidence is a jewelry business where Julie sells her unique pieces online as well as in about 60 plus stores, both here in the US and in Switzerland. She has initiatives in place, including a vigorous recycling program, as well as encouraged use of vintage beads and materials which are disassembled and given a new life through her wonderful jewelry. Without further ado, I am going to add today's guest to our live so we can start our conversation. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us today on CCS Alumni Live.
Sure.
I see you have some artwork in the background
I do,
there.
yeah. I was like, what's the coolest spot I can sit?
I was like, anybody with interior design as a background, they have the best setups for these things.
Yeah.
Like they think about the ambiance. So tell us a little bit. You have two things that you're doing, right? You're running
I
your
do.
business and you're working. And are you wearing a piece of your own jewelry?
I am, yeah. I got a lot
You got all the plugs. I love it. I
of.
love it. So let's start off with breaking down a little bit about what you do for each currently. Like what does it look like for your daytime work with GM, and then what does it look like on your day-to-day grind for your business?
Yeah, so it's so funny. Everyone thinks I'm insane that I like do two things, but I love being really busy. I've always like thrived having a lot of stuff to do
I
and
bet you did good
so
in school then.
yeah. I was like the only person that only pulled all-nighters at finals, and people would get so mad at me. And I'm like, I love to sleep. So I was like, guys, I'm not sacrificing this.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so at GM, I'm a color and materials designer, and it's been really cool because so I started there actually while I was at CCS, like in my last semester at CCS, I was recruited to go work there. And I have had the opportunity over the last 5 years to work on like almost every single brand, which has been really cool and kind of an unusual experience that I've moved around so much.
Mhm.
So right now in my current position, I am working in the advanced team doing sustainable material development. So basically, we're trying to like switch over all the materials that we use for our vehicles just to things that are more sustainable. So whether that's like recycled content or biomaterials, things like that. And I'm really passionate about sustainability, and so it was really cool to be able to find that niche inside such a large company that does so many things.
Mhm.
And
I have
then
a quick question
yeah, yeah,
before you move on, because
yeah.
I realize this conversation is primarily for high school students, and they may
Yes.
not know what color and materials design means or what that is. If you were to explain in your own words what a color and materials designer does, what would you say you do on a day-to-day? Like, what does that word mean for someone who's not heard of that term before?
Yeah, so I know it's hard. You start like using acronyms and stuff, and you're like, oh wait. I basically we design color, fabrics, exterior paint for vehicles, leather. We work with different textures and grains. Like every single thing that you can touch in your vehicle is something that we've had an influence over.
Mm.
And it's all about proportion and form. And it's funny, I didn't even know that color and trim was a profession until I was a sophomore at CCS.
Mhm.
So it's interesting because I had never had, I always had like interior designer as the vision in my head, and then this kind of came about, and I was like, oh, like I didn't know I could do this. You know, my dad he like restores classic cars for a living. And he was always like, you know, you're gonna go into automotive, you're gonna join the business, you know, all this stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not. Full rebel. I'm like, I'm going to do art. Like, I don't want anything to do with that. And then I was just laughing because I ended up in that anyway, and I love it. And he's just like sitting in the corner, like, yeah. That totally sidetracked, but yeah.
No, that's wonderful. I think it's good though when you can find a way where the things you're passionate about, you're interested in, also coincide with like legacy or history or like the family work. I know for me, I was growing up, people were telling me all the time that I would be a teacher. I'm like, there's no way in the world I'll ever be a teacher. But I'm working in education now, you know, but still doing what I love. So that's awesome. Yeah. That's hilarious. And so you mentioned sustainability being a big part of the work that you do at GM and something you love there. You also mentioned as like a part of the types of things that color material artists work on being like, for example, leather. So are there like products that you all have developed or things that you have used to swap out some of the traditional things we think of when it comes to color material?
Yeah, so it's funny because there's confidentiality and things I can't, say because stuff's work in progress. But, overall, we're just trying to find solutions that are, that have less of an impact on the environment. I really live by the philosophy with all of it of progress, not perfection. We still make products, we still make vehicles, but how can we do that better? So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So color and material designer by night and full-on entrepreneur by day, or swap them whichever time of day. So tell us a little bit about the work that you do with Fate and Coincidence.
Yeah. So I have been making jewelry since I was like 13. And my business name has changed a bunch of times. I love talking about it.
What was it when you were younger?
So this is the thing. So it cracks me up because my first like jewelry business name was Dawn Will Break, like from Twilight, like Breaking Dawn. Like it was like literally based off of that. And so yeah, we've evolved. We've moved on since that. But it's funny to like look back and think about that. But yeah, I just started selling like on Etsy. My mom had told me about Etsy. I know that she's on here, so she'll thank you, Mom. Yeah. She had told me about Etsy, like really early on. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have an outlet to get all of these things I'm making out of the house, and it just kind of took off. I mean, I shouldn't say that it immediately took off. It definitely didn't. I've been doing this for like 10 plus years now, and it was, I'd have like great success with it, and then it would be really slow, and then it would go up and down, and obviously that depended on my school schedule and work schedule and just, how much time I could commit to it. The great thing about having an online business is just that you can do it whenever you want. It's always open. You don't have to constantly be, paying attention to it. You don't have to be there all the time. But it's given me a really good creative outlet to, use a lot of pink, which I can't do at work. So, yeah.
And your jewelry is amazing. I shared a lot of it before the live just to let people know the types of things you're creating. Do you have a particular source of inspiration for the type of work that you create with your jewelry business?
I really am just inspired by the materials, honestly. I've never been someone who has like drawn jewelry before I've made it, or, sometimes I'll come up with like a theme for a collection just kind of in my head, with different images that I see online, or like if I I've done quite a few collections based off places that I've traveled. But I really just like to find beautiful, unique materials and then lay them all out in front of me and just kind of start playing with it and see where it goes.
Yeah, it's funny looking at your feed for Fate and Coincidence. It felt like, it felt like a color material designer's like board turned into jewelry.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, like just the way that you were like photographing, like these are the beads that I'll be using, or here are some of the like the materials I'll be using on this texture. It was like beautiful.
Yeah, the two definitely go like this a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome to have a creative outlet, because I know sometimes with color and materials work, there's the work is part of the process, but it's not the final product itself, right? And so it's really cool to have your own final product that you're creating using your color and material background.
Yeah, for sure.
So you mentioned that you're in 60 stores on your bio. That's a lot of stores. How did you find which places to sell your work?
Yeah, so that also has just changed so much over time. You know, initially for a really long time and pretty much all through CCS, I just you know, sold, you know, maybe a piece every 2 weeks on Etsy. It was completely just retail. And then I had a couple people ask, I don't remember exactly how it started, but a couple people asked if I would do, you know, like wholesale and sell in stores. And I was like, I had never really thought about it. And I'm like, yeah, you know, sure, I'll give it a go. We kind of set it up. It was, you know, I'm writing orders on paper and like trying to keep track of stuff. And Rail and Anchor in Royal Oak actually was the first store that carried my jewelry. So that was very exciting. And then a couple years later, Etsy started doing Etsy Wholesale, which basically just connected Etsy sellers with stores that were looking for handmade goods.
That's
so it's
awesome.
not anymore. Yeah, they ended up closing it down, which was so sad. I guess it was just too much to run for them with yeah, exactly. So, but from that, I had gotten a bunch of accounts just online of, you know, people I've never met, just, you know, people just looking for colorful jewelry. And then I had really gotten into doing that and I really loved it. And I was, you know, my business was growing and I was seeing that, you know, making multiples was something that would cause the business to grow. And having those specific pieces that are for your brand and make it recognizable. And later, Fair Wholesale actually kind of popped up, and it used to be called Indigo Fair. I don't know if you had ever heard of that, but so now they're the main way that a lot of makers sell their stuff to stores. So I've gotten most of the, you know, accounts and businesses and stuff that I work with through them.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Have you ever traveled or been somewhere and be like, that's my stuff in that store?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I have so many in Michigan, so just like going around or people, it's really, really weird because I will see someone wearing something in public and I like want to go like, yeah. Like, don't run up to this person and scare them. Like, you need to, like, they have no idea who you are. You're going to freak them out.
Oh my
God. It's really, really exciting. And I had, a couple months ago, I had the first person, like, recognize me in public. And I was so uncomfortable. It was just so awkward. She's like, are you faking coincidence? And I'm like,
you're like, yes.
Yeah, which it's super cool. She was so nice, but I was just like, this is weird.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. That's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of people recognizing your work, what would you say of your color and material design work has been your favorite thing to work on?
There's two things for sure. Three, but one I can't tell you about yet.
I always love when alumni are like, but this one's secret, so I won't talk about it, but it's there.
Yeah, no, that's the weird thing is because we work 5 years out. So
Right.
like being at GM like 6.5, it's just now that stuff that I've worked on is coming out and that I can talk about it. My favorite thing I think was working on the lyric show car for Cadillac. So that's their first you know, completely electric new battery platform. You know, it's much more efficient, and doing that interior and, you know, jumping in, I kind of jumped in halfway through the program and the build of that and got to see it all the way to the end. So I was like, you know, in the shops, working with the team, you know, altering paint finishes and, you know, choosing what little details and things that we wanted to add. And then that came out so recently after I had finished working on it because it was a concept vehicle. So that was just really awesome to see. The feedback was really good for GM. And then the other thing that I worked on that was blood, sweat, and tears that finally made it in was the Cadillac Blackwings. So those are like the high performance sedans. So the CT4V Blackwing and the CT5V Blackwing. I got to work with the team some of my coworkers, Brett and Dom, the three of us really, rallied to get that done. And we were very excited because the content in those vehicles is such an upgrade from the previous vehicles. We got like carbon fiber on the seat backs and, all these little badge details and really beautiful quilting and stuff that we did on the seats. And we got like colored seat belts and all this stuff. So they have so much character. And I really, really loved working with that team. So that was really cool.
That's awesome. I think it's cool when interior or transportation designers get to work on concept vehicles that are for shows, in addition to like the things that we see on the road, because I feel like you can let your imagination go so much further for those types of vehicles. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So speaking of concepts,
yes,
this is a concept I do every Alumni Live. We're going to hop in my imaginary time machine. I imagine that it has cool color and trim as well. We're going to travel back to your high school days as an artist and designer. Yeah. Julie, tell me a little bit about what you were doing as a high school artist. I know you were making jewelry since 13, but were you in art classes? Like, what were you doing in high school?
Yeah, so I had always been the weird art kid. I was like totally the one with like my weird little group, like eating lunch in the art room because we didn't want to be in the cafeteria and we wanted to paint while we were eating and, that type of thing. I did mostly painting in high school, actually, mostly painting and drawing. And I wasn't, like I loved like decorating and like I was always, redoing my room and like convincing my mom and my sisters to change rooms because I had some new idea, that I had to do. So we were like swapping all the time. I don't know.
I was gonna say, did they oblige? Like, did they actually switch rooms? Oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah, I don't know how my mom had the tolerance for that. She must have just been bored too. But that was like really funny. But there was there's no like training or like thing that you can really, you don't really have the outlet to do that other than your own room or your own house. So yeah, it was mostly just, I would say, I took a lot of art classes. I took extra art classes. And then I was encouraged by my teacher, Miss Mack, to apply to CCS. And I had applied to quite a few schools, and CCS was just the one that, had like really worked out, from a financial perspective and just from location and the program that they had. And it just kind of all fell into place.
It all came together. So
yeah.
You had this interest in interior design. You're decorating, moving your family members' rooms in the house. I think that's hilarious. And then you end up at CCS. Tell me a little bit about your time at CCS. And a question that I'm curious about, because you said you've been making jewelry since 13. Obviously, you had this passion for interior design. What made you choose interior design over something like jewelry making?
So I honestly don't know. That was just, jewelry was always like a fun hobby for me. And I saw myself doing something in a bigger company, and I just loved space. And so the loves were pretty equal. It's interesting because early on I never considered, doing metalsmithing or, at CCS or anything. I did take a metalsmithing class there, and oh my God, respect. That is so freaking hard. I'm like soldering and all that stuff is just, I do not have the patience for it. I just have so much respect for the people that do that. But I actually did the pre-college program at CCS too, which was a really, really instrumental, I guess, experience in my life. And, I had never been away from home. I was like super freaked out and, went there and actually met one of my best friends still in that program. We got put as roommates, and we had thought that we were just put in alphabetical order because I'm Rudzinski and she's Russell, and it was like a total happenstance. And I formed like a lot of really great relationships from that. And then at CCS I ended up actually mentoring for that as well when for the high school students, which was really cool. Sidetracked. But.
That's awesome. Shouts out to pre-college summer experience. I did the same thing when I was a student. I was there. I was a late bloomer, so I went the summer of senior year, like right after I finished high school, to the pre-college
Yeah.
program, and then mentored for 3 years. It was the best job on earth, which is why I'm in admissions
It's
now.
so fun.
It's the
Yeah, I
best thing
loved
ever.
it.
Um, but it's a great way to like figure out, what school is a good fit for you, what major is a good fit for you, to explore your art over the summer as a high school student. Shouts out to the program if you are a high school student tuning in and you want to do something amazing during the summer. We are still letting students sign up. We're doing summer intensives this year, so you can be from home in your pajamas learning with CCS this summer. But that's awesome. That's awesome that I think it's amazing when students from that program not only end up at CCS, but end up contributing the legacy of that program by becoming mentors. Like, that's the reason why this school is so awesome to me, because everyone comes back and gives back. So tell me this. So you got into CCS. You mad respect to jewelry designers, but like not interested in soldering. So study interior design. But you mentioned earlier that you had your job offer before you even finished CCS. Did you also have other internships or opportunities while you were a student?
Yeah, so it was really important to me, and a conversation I had a lot with my parents, that I, really know what I want to do by the time I graduated. That was just something I had internally just decided. I didn't want to get into a job that I hated. I really wanted to explore while I had the chance. So I actually did, I think, 4 or 5 internships while I was at CCS. So
that's a
yeah.
lot of it. I know people who've done like 2 or 3, but 4 or 5, that's a lot of. How did you fit
Yeah.
all those internships in?
I
You
have
like
no
to work.
idea.
That's right.
I look back and I'm like, what was I doing? It's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, if you're a student right now, do not overwork yourself, because I definitely did. I was like doing student government, CCS creative initiative, I was mentoring, I was work study, it was like out of control. I just like got so excited and just wanted to do everything. So my internships, I had the first one, which was with a residential like interior design firm in Bloomfield Hills for a summer, that was, just working on like these crazy big mansions. And that team was great, but I just realized, I was like, these people wanting to spend $90,000 on hand forged like knobs for their house is just not my jam.
Yeah.
I was like, you could feed a third world country with this. I just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah. So like morally, it was a positive experience, just in, gaining experience, and the group was great, but it just wasn't like my future. I just didn't see myself doing that.
Yep.
And then, so I'm not positive on the order. I'm gonna mix these up. But I did also work, I did some visual merchandising at Leon and Lulu in Clawson, actually. So that was really fun. I kind of, I was kind of overworked a little bit doing all of the stuff I was doing, and I wanted to just go do something fun that, my Sandra, I don't know if she's on here, but my department chair, we're very close and still talk all the time. But she was like, you can't go work in a store. She's like, this is your career. Ah, she's like freaking out. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it. But I loved it, honestly. I was just rearranging furniture, pairing art, doing accessories, and like making these little vignettes all day. And I was on my feet the whole day, just doing laps in the store, which I loved. And then the other big one was I worked for Newman Smith, which is an architecture firm in Southfield. And they do like, more traditional like commercial architecture. So office buildings and, insurance companies and cool lobbies and, stuff like that. And I did have a really good experience there. I did actually have an offer from them as well upon graduation, which was really great. So I didn't, worry about
you knew you'd have
finding a job at the end. Yeah, it was just kind of, I know I'm like very lucky in that scenario, but I kind of got to choose between going to GM and then doing that. And I loved that team also. It was like a kind of a medium-sized company. They had, I think, between like 30 and 50 people ish working in their offices in Southfield. And Really fun. That was my first like bigger company experience. And then I actually was recruited by GM, in about, I don't know, I think in the fall of 14. So I
Mhm.
started like in January, and just loved working at a giant company. Like just the experiences that you get and the relationships, how many people you see every day, and the impact that you can have was just totally pulled me in. So yeah.
That's
So I had
awesome.
like really had a lot of different experiences throughout and was able to, see scale of company, what types of people I wanted to work with and what I wanted to be doing.
I feel like that's I know a lot of students try to figure out what they want to do before they get into college or, through anecdotal evidence. But I think it's awesome that you got to figure out what type of company you want to work in, what type of work you want to do, while also like, I'm sure getting paid, but also like learning at the same time, like your resume filled up while you were also getting help to make that decision. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome. That's so
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I'm
Yeah.
excited for students to learn from your experience. So this is the point in Alumni Live where anybody who's watching live, I know people hop in and out and more people watch our
Hi,
recordings, but
Natalie.
hello everyone who's here. If anybody is here and has a question for Julie about being an interior designer, a color and materials designer, a jewelry artist, running your own business, or being a hardworking student or graduate, make sure you drop those questions in either the Q&A box here on Instagram or the comments below so I can make sure we get your questions answered live. I know I can ask questions all day, but I want to make sure our guests have a chance to get their questions answered if they have any. So while I'm waiting for folks to drop their questions in the bottom here, I have one more question for you, for me. What is one thing you would say you learned during your time at CCS that's been really impactful and instrumental in your life?
Relationships are everything. Oh my god. I mean, I think I think there's two things that CCS is really strong in and that make it a great school. One of those is the facilities, and the other one is the relationship building. I think just the connections that you make are so important. I think like Sandra, my the head of interior design, I mean, she had a hand in I think almost every single one of the positions that I got. All of these relationships that I made, I mean, she helped me to diversify the work that I was doing. If I needed money, she would help me find freelance job. I cannot speak highly enough of her. But I got like little freelance projects and stuff where I was doing modeling. So that was like 3D, 3D
Mm-hmm.
modeling for some restaurants and stuff. And that was just like growing my skills. And I still, I'm still really good friends with a lot of the people that that were on my floor, like at CCS, and, people that I was an RA with. And it's, those people stick with you, and you like CCS is an experience.
Mm-hmm.
And to have those people that get it and that went through it, and you never really leave each other. It's just you get such a strong bond. And my like one advice is don't burn bridges. Because I've seen people, over and over and over again that, sometimes you're at CCS and you get too big in your britches, and, people are like, oh, I don't care about these people. I'm going to be famous or whatever. And then they end up having to work for those people that they were mean
Yep.
to because our industry is so small. And
Yep.
you just can't do that. You need to take everything, you need to be humble and take everything with a grain. I mean, I've had my moments. I am not
Mm-hmm.
saying that this came like that, like, but just definitely be nice to everyone, learn from everybody. I think that will just set you up for success.
So true. Wiser words have not been spoken. I mean, either you'll learn the easy way through someone giving you the advice or the hard way through
Yeah.
experiencing it yourself. But that is one thing that is for sure true. I know in my experience, I've had positions in agencies from my art direction background with students who are illustration graduates, or graphic design graduates. I've had photography graduates. Like, be nice to everyone. You will see them again.
Oh, you will, yeah.
Oh, that is so awesome. So it looks like folks are a little shy with their questions here. You guys don't be shy if you have questions. Make sure you ask them now. But while if no one has questions, Julie, where can people follow you to see more of your awesome work and wares? Where should we send people to?
Yeah, so you can follow me at Fate and Coincidence. There's an underscore at the end. That is my jewelry page and more of my personal page. And then Nalt West is actually my design Instagram. So that's more CMF focused and product focused if that's what you're interested in. I kind of like to keep the two separate just so I'm not bombarding people all the time. And I share a lot of my work from GM and, you know, the color and trim stuff and things that my coworkers are doing and other things that are happening in the industry on that page. So, you know, I'm totally open if anyone just wants to email or anything like that.
You froze at the little bit, at the teeny little end there, but I heard both of your IGs, and you were saying that you share work that you're doing as well as some of your work that your coworkers are doing at GM at Nalt West.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then you can also email me just if you ever need anything or want to talk.
What's the email? Yeah. Where should they email you?
So that's also just fateandcoincidence@gmail.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Julie, you've been amazing to speak with today.
Thank you.
I love
this
your
is
energy.
Great. Thank you.
I'm going to go and buy some jewelry because I've been staring at your earrings this whole interview. Like, they're so cute.
Thank you. These are
awesome.
My favorite ones. I wear them all the time.
Those are gorgeous. My ears are naked. I'm gonna go get them some clothes now.
I can fix that.
Thank you so much for your insight, sharing your experience, your wisdom, your personality. This has been an amazing conversation. And you are a shining example of what it looks like to pursue your dreams and pursue your passions as an artist and designer. So I appreciate you. And for those who are watching live, I always never have this pulled up in time, but I'm pulling it up now. For those who want to continue watching these conversations, learning more about CCS alumni and their amazing journeys to create the differences that they're making in the world, make sure you tune in next week, March 9th. We'll be speaking with Matt Morocco about his journey in the industrial design industry. So again, Julie, thank you so much.
Yeah,
thank you to everyone who tuned in, and we will see you next week at CCS Alumni Live. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.
Bye.